Hi, this is Kelly Glegg, and this is Understanding My Community. I work at Rocky Mountain High School in Fort Collins, Colorado. So let's start a little bit with Fort Collins, just so you know where Rocky is housed. We love the outdoors. We love our dogs, beer, and bikes in Fort Collins. Most people have moved to Fort Collins from other areas specifically for outdoor and recreational activities or because of the mountains. And so we boast 237 days of sunshine per year. And within that, Rocky's part of the Poudre School District, which is the only school district in Fort Collins and one of three school districts in Larimer County, the county that is where we live. So let's talk a little bit about what Rocky's customs are like. Rocky's really known for its school spirit. Our mascot is the Lobo. So we have the Lobo Way, which is certainly values we have at the school, and that's marketed pretty widely. The kids do a absolutely awesome school spirit thing called the roller coaster, and they teach all incoming 8th graders so that everyone can do it at every game and every gathering. And Rocky's also known for really their service to others. There is so much volunteering that happens. There's probably not a week during the school year that goes by that there's not some fundraising effort going on by a different group or club within the school. They've also joined up with CSU, Colorado State University, which is also part of Fort Collins, our local hospital, and to do fundraising for them. We just finished a big fundraising effort for Children's Hospital in Denver, which is about an hour south of us, because we've had 6 students who've been impacted by cancer in the past year, and so Children's is where a lot of the kids go to get treated, and so did some fundraising for there as well. We have lots of extracurricular activities, student council, which is called STUCO. We have peer helpers who are very visible throughout the school. They do peer helping, and they do like peer counseling, and they present in classes about different topics. We have lots of sports clubs. Clubs can be either school sponsored or student sponsored, so we've had as many as 80 different clubs at one time that kids can be part of. We also have a great music department, amazing art department. And then, of course, we have the academic piece. So we have a lot of students that take advantage of getting a lot of their college credits finished in their senior year of high school in different ways. And so that cuts down on the cost for college as well. So we do have kind of an issue with Fort Collins and Rocky with affordable housing, and I'll get into what's going on with that later. But we have a lot of teachers who are having to move out of the area because they can't afford the cost of living anymore. So that's becoming a huge issue in Colorado and definitely in Fort Collins. So we do, at Rocky, we have many, even though our diversity is pretty low, we have many multicultural events and festivals just to highlight different groups. And so I would say that the same exists in Fort Collins as well. So if we're looking just at Rocky, we have 2,035 students, pretty evenly divided between male and female. As you can see, we have 75% Caucasian student rates, and then 15% Hispanic and 10% other race and ethnicities. So again, we are not very diverse, although becoming more so that way. In Poudre School District overall, there's almost 30,000 students. And again, with similar race and ethnicity percentages, male, female. And so in Fort Collins overall, there are 165,000 residents. We're the 4th largest city in Colorado. The growth that our town has seen is absolutely incredible. We have really significant growth. The other piece is that Fort Collins is a very educated city, especially with being a college town. At least 53% of the population has a 4-year college degree or higher. So as far as communication goes, these days it seems like everything comes down to social media. I feel like that's where most communication happens. So we have formal social media accounts through the school and through the city, and then of course there's the more informal ones and just personal ones that go around that everybody lets everybody know about everything. And so we also use, at Rocky, we use Remind, which is a free texting notification system available for educators, which is awesome. So without revealing phone numbers, a teacher or administrator can text from anywhere about just about meeting reminders or other kinds of things. So we use that both with staff and with student groups at Rocky. We have a school newspaper. We do lots of parent communication. And as far as other languages, it's really interesting. I just happened to look at the school calendar for next year, and there was an Arabic version available. We do put out most publications, both at the district and building level, in English and Spanish. But we have quite a few other languages that are represented that we don't always get communication out in. And so that, I would say, would be kind of a weakness in the communication, is just making things available in all the different languages that we need for our schools. And the same kind of happens in Fort Collins as well. We have CSU has an international student base, so we have lots of families who speak different Asian languages. We have Middle Eastern families, and so we have a lot of real diverse languages and cultures represented just in small numbers. So our community groups, wow, there's so many. For Rocky, we have so many formal groups like our sports teams or our music department and our music groups. And then again, I mentioned before, Peers is a big group, Stuco is a big group. We have all kinds of student groups that are organized and really embedded in the Rocky culture. And then social groups tend to form. They're not totally exclusive or cliquish, but a lot of times people with different, with the same ethnicity will form together. We have a pretty strong LGBT community. We have, kids kind of congregate by neighborhood. And I put drugs on there, not because people just hang out and do drugs together, but, there's, depending what activity kids are into, that will bring them together. So yes, the kids who smoke together and become friends. The kids who snowboard together and become friends. So that's how a lot of social groups seem to be formed and divided upon those lines. So generally, I think we have a pretty positive and open community at Rocky for students. Poor kids I put on there because I think a lot of times they're so busy surviving and trying to make their lives work that they don't necessarily get to have some of the same opportunities to connect in different ways that our other students do. Staff, we have lots of formal groups. We have big staff meetings and activities. We have different committees within the school. Obviously, departments are a very clear organization line. And then sometimes we have mentors and mentees with experienced and less experienced teachers too. We have lots of informal groups. Our classified folks, which are like our school secretaries and such, are really bonded and do things together. We have a whole group of Rocky staff that do jazzercise together. And then we have a lot of teachers who are really active in the Teachers Union, PEA, and spend a lot of time together. Generally, people are very welcoming and friendly and open. In Fort Collins overall, again, lots of groups in different ways. I put Bohemian Foundation down here. We have a resident billionaire that lives in Fort Collins. I'll tell you more about her later, but she is, through her foundation, the Bohemian Foundation, lots of grants for schools have been funded, and we also have, like, the whole downtown area has just been filled with music and art and architecture that wouldn't be available otherwise. And so there's like this whole group of people in Fort Collins that are just associated with doing great things through that foundation. So leadership. At Rocky, we really have pretty clear student leadership abilities, both with class offices that are held and also with the different clubs and leading clubs and being a student athlete that's a leader as well. And with staff leadership, it really goes down department lines. You can be a department leader, and other than that, the leadership is really the admin team, which is the principal. We have 4 assistant principals. One of those is also the athletic director and 2 deans. And in the Poudre School District, the cabinet really involves the superintendent, 2 assistant superintendents, and then quite a few directors of different departments, and then our Board of Education, of course. In Fort Collins, we have numerous kinds of leaders in different parts of our community, and I would say they are all pretty equally respected. I would guess that our city council, our mayor, and our county commissioners probably have the most power within our community. So here's some of our community leaders. Um, so on the bottom left, we've got Pat Stryker, again, our resident billionaire, whose family actually came to their wealth through making hospital beds, Stryker hospital beds, which are used in most hospitals. And then in the middle, we have John Kafalis, who is currently a county commissioner, but also formerly represented our area in the Colorado State House of Representatives. And then on the far right is our PSD superintendent, Dr. Smizer. And so as far as characteristics, at Rocky, there seems to be a little divide between staff and admin. Staff don't think admin is as approachable as admin thinks they are, but usually they're visible. They definitely welcome any parent or student input, and so I think that that's a fairly open system. In PSD in general, it's very hierarchical. Like, you can only speak to your supervisor directly above you. It's not like you can talk to anybody in leadership at PSD at any point in time. So there's real formal communication processes that exist there. I would have an easier time as a community member probably accessing our cabinet or board of education than I would as a staff person. In Fort Collins, again, it seems like our leaders are very visible and accessible for the most part. So our economic conditions, just to point out a few, take a look at the median home sale price. Right now that is $415,000, but teachers are only making an average of $54,000. Even of renting an apartment, it's really difficult to find anything for under $1,600 a month, and that's not including houses to rent. So we have a huge issue going on with affordable housing. You certainly can't survive in a two-teacher income house because it's just not possible. So that is one of the big issues that we struggle with both at Rocky and in the Poudre School District and in Fort Collins. So the political structure, this is the leadership structure for our school district. Certainly the cabinet, which is everybody who's listed here, has the most power. The community has some input with the Board of Education. Definitely there's a hierarchy that must be followed with communication. And our school attorney probably has undue influence over the Board of Education and superintendent. That's certainly been kind of a sticking point for folks. And staff have kind of their input through their different advocacy groups and so on. Principals really struggle with how much they're allowed to run their own schools versus what they have to do for districts, like whether the district is micromanaging them or making things full of red tape or really supporting them in doing their job. So that's also an area that has come up recently. So social tensions, really Rocky mimics Fort Collins in a lot of ways. We have, again, the haves and the have-nots. Poor people in Fort Collins are pretty invisible. It's really a surprise to some of our residents that kids don't have enough to eat. And the poor people used to be all congregated in the north end of town. Now they're kind of scattered out through all areas of town, and we have wealthier people on the southeast end of town. And so now we have poor people on the southwest end of town that don't have access to services on the north end of town. Certainly we have some racial tension, although it seems to me that that's pretty minimal compared with what I've seen in other areas. Part of what I think is a bigger deal is that a lot of times the racial divide happens also along SES lines. So, our Hispanic kids are also some of our poorer kids, and so like having that divide with race and income is unfortunate, and also with academic achievement. What we do have is we have a mix of kind of a really liberal city feel with right outside of town a very rural or mountain kind of culture that's going on. And so that often causes more conflict. We have kind of conservative versus liberal all coming together in the same school and in the same city with very diverse values and beliefs. So again, we see cliques more along interests, but not necessarily exclusive. I do believe that our community is very open and accepting with all kinds of things, racism, ageism, sexism, and with diverse beliefs compared to a lot of communities. All right, here's all kinds of extra sources of information. We've got the Rocky website, the Poudre School District website. We've got all the good arts and music and those kinds of events in Fort Collins, and then we've also got the Colorado State website, and so there's all kinds of good information out there about what's going on in Fort Collins right now and at Rocky